représentants. En tant que représentants du collectif des gouvernements locaux et régionaux, rassemblés au sein de la Task Force mondiale, pouvons délivrer ensemble pour que la reprise fonctionne. Il faudra renforcer l'accès universel aux services publics, services essentiels.
Di qualità della democrazia, di cooperazione. Noi ci dobbiamo dare una mano perché mai come questa volta abbiamo...
Fellow mayors and dear friends, I would like to start my intervention by reminding that local democracy is at the core of who we are as a movement.
各位专家、市长们、朋友们，大家好。今天我们通过鼠标清点和大家见面。而在2000多年前，
Les citoyens savent comment se procéder. Pas de promesses, pas de grands discours, mais une gouvernance efficace, car gouverner pour nous, c'est agir.
Our solutions need to be holistic, and the local space is the perfect place to connect.
Guide these initiatives of all local communities in the right direction, even though we don't have
right, addressing local governments and capacity, paying special attention to intermediary cities that inhabit
Todos y todas merecen igualdad de oportunidades, igualdad de derechos, igualdad de libertades.
Local and regional government, the constituencies to which I belong to.
Welcome, everybody. I hope that your voices, your hugs, your sounds have reached you and touch you like they touch us every day in our work at United Cities and Local Governments. Welcome to the Executive Bureau 2021 session. This is the formal segment of the Executive Bureau. We have had very productive days. We have been discussing even this morning about health. In the middle of the pandemic, this is a very important topic, and today the Executive Bureau is going to focus around care. I am delighted to have with us our leadership, the co-presidents of United Cities and Local Governments, and our president, Mohamed Boudra, who is in charge to open this debate. President, the floor is yours. Are you ready?
Merci, merci chère Emilia, merci Madame la Secrétaire Générale, Excellences, chers maires, chers collègues de la présidence de CGLU, membres du bureau, chers amis. Je vous souhaite chaleureusement la bienvenue à la session officielle de notre bureau exécutif qui a commencé ses travaux il y a 2 jours avec un ordre du jour très riche, comme a dit Emilia. Permettez-moi de commencer par un hommage sincère à tous ceux qui nous ont quittés ces derniers mois, en particulier notre président, l'ancien maire d'Istanbul, et notre ancien vice-président pour les régions et ancien gouverneur de Santa Fe, Miguel Lepsich. De nombreux maires, conseillers et conseillères sont confrontés à la maladie. Pour toutes et tous, et pour nos proches et nos communautés, 1 minute du silence, s'il vous plaît. Merci beaucoup. Mon intervention aujourd'hui s'inscrit dans le cadre du tournant important que prend notre mouvement vis-à-vis des politiques publiques. Et dans ce contexte, je pense qu'il est pertinent de faire une mention spéciale à la célébration de la journée mondiale de la sensibilisation à l'accessibilité. Alors que nous commençons à entraîner dans la phase de reprise, nous ne pouvons pas oublier que l'accessibilité universelle est un droit humain fondamental pour promouvoir une planification plus équitable et innovante dans tous les contextes et pour mener à bien une récupération qui fonctionne pour toutes et pour tous. L'accessibilité pour tout le monde n'est pas une nouvelle priorité, mais je pense qu'elle est désormais urgente. Parler des priorités, la santé est, et j'en suis sûr que vous en êtes tous conscients, aussi essentiel que l'a toujours été. C'est pourquoi je suis fier d'annoncer que CGLU rejoint officiellement CSU 2030, rapprochant ainsi la santé et le mouvement municipal et montrant que les soins et la santé dans nos villes et territoires font partie intégrante du bien-être de nos communautés et de nos citoyens. Ils sont essentiels pour réduire les inégalités et de ne laisser personne pour compte. C'est pourquoi, à CGLU, nous célébrons cette journée avec l'engagement de transformer nos communautés, des villes et territoires accessibles à toutes et à tous. Voici notre devise. Chers amis, chers collègues, nous sommes à la croisée des chemins. Les inégalités, la discrimination et l'exclusion dans nos villes et territoires ne peuvent plus être ignorées. Nous observons la difficulté à l'égalité d'accès aux vaccins, une injustice avec différentes vitesses de reprise entre pays riches et pays pauvres, et avec différentes manières dont la pandémie affectera les communautés les plus vulnérables. Nous savons que dans le monde à venir, les choses seront différentes, que nos villes et nos territoires ne seront plus jamais les mêmes et que la fourniture de services publics est plus que jamais essentielle pour nous protéger. Il est tout de même encourageant de voir que les gouvernements nationaux commencent à adopter des postulats que nous défendrons. Dans cette organisation mondiale, nous demandons l'équité dans les vaccins et nous demandons la libération des brevets afin que tout le monde puisse participer à la reprise et avoir les mêmes possibilités et les mêmes droits. Depuis plus d'un an, nous répétons que seule la co-création nous permettra de faire mieux et que nous avons besoin d'un solide système de gouvernance multilatérale qui puisse guider les étapes dans ces réalités interconnectées. Dans ce contexte, je tiens à célébrer les grandes étapes que nous avons franchies en collaboration avec l'OMS, l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, et remercier le Dr Tedros d'avoir été parmi nous 3 fois depuis le début de la pandémie. Nous pensons que le travail présenté ce matin dans le cadre du groupe de travail de l'OMS sur la préparation urbaine sera une bonne contribution importante pour que les villes et les territoires ainsi que les services que nous fournissons occupent une autre place à l'ordre du jour. Ce bureau exécutif est le moment de mettre les soins au centre et de montrer la voie pour renouveler les priorités stratégiques. Nous avons vu que les gouvernements locaux et régionaux travaillent déjà à prendre soin des communautés et notre organisation doit être consolidée dans ce sens. Il est temps de réfléchir à la manière dont nos villes, nos territoires doivent être planifiés dans le futur. Repenser le rôle que jouera l'espace public pour inclure toutes les personnes, mais aussi le futur des environnements physiques, numériques, sociaux. Ce n'est que si nous adoptons une planification centrée sur les personnes que nous pourrons promouvoir la solidarité, le bien-être et la dignité des villes et des territoires pour toutes et tous. Quand on parle des villes et de territoires qui prennent soin, et la pandémie nous l'a bien montré, on ne peut manquer de mentionner la valeur des villes intermédiaires comme lien entre la métropole et les territoires, mais aussi comme modèle de bien-vivre qui prennent soin de notre planète. Et si nous parlons de bien-vivre, nous ne pouvons manquer d'aborder l'importance du temps, la façon dont son utilisation affecte nos vies et la nécessité de repenser nos territoires afin d'avoir toutes et tous une vie digne et agréable. Chers amis, le monde de demain nous demande plus que jamais de l'unité pour développer un environnement mondial qui encourage la fourniture des services de base. Il est essentiel de collaborer pleinement entre les sphères de gouvernement et d'impliquer toutes les parties prenantes dans le processus. de CGLU, il est clair que notre rôle doit être en accord avec la réalité de nos territoires et que notre rôle en tant que sphère de gouvernement de plein droit doit être reconnu. Je suis sûr que les dialogues qui ont lieu ces jours-ci, que les questions sur l'égide de nos conseils politiques et que nos messages en tant que mouvement unique doivent contribuer à façonner l'avenir, un horizon partagé qui ne laisse personne pour compte. Chers amis, ouvrons la voie vers notre agenda commun. Continuons la conversation sur ce qui est essentiel pour un nouveau modèle de société et avançons vers un pacte pour l'avenir qui fonctionne pour les personnes, pour les planètes et pour le gouvernement. J'ai un grand honneur, j'ai hâte d'entendre vos visions et d'apprendre de vos expériences. Mais c'est maintenant pour moi un grand honneur de donner la parole à Madame Pumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, sous-secrétaire générale des Nations Unies et directrice exécutive d'ONU Femmes. Nous la remercions pour être avec nous. Nous vous donnons la parole, chère Madame, avec nos remerciements. C'est un honneur pour nous.
Thank you very much, and greetings to the members of the UCLG and the leadership, to mayors, to councillors, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to be with you and to speak about the importance of a caring society. We are living at a time when care is primary. For instance, the access to vaccines by all people, wherever they are, is important. The teaching and the framing of how we learn is also important. If we are learning a Masters of Business and Administration, maybe we should be talking about a Masters of Business and Equity in order to make sure that the issue of care is present in everything we do. We are at a time when women have handled the burden of dealing with COVID-19. 70% of those who work in hospitals are women, but women are only 27% of those members in the task teams for coronavirus in different countries who are responsible for making decisions about what should happen next. We've also seen that in many countries, only 11% of the countries are involved in the fiscal stimulus, have dedicated programs that address the issue of women. And yet, 2/3 of the jobs that have been lost during the pandemic were lost by women. Women are unable to look after themselves because they tend to work in areas where the labor laws of the countries do not enforce gender equality, as well as the fact that women work at the lower levels of the jobs. Women are in hospitality, in tourism, in the service sector, and these are all the sectors that have been affected by the pandemic. Therefore, the need to react in a manner that addresses the situation of women is critical. And having women in the committees that are coming up with a solution is also critical. In this effort, we are also working with 51 cities in 31 countries in our integrated safe cities and safe public spaces with women and girls globally. We have noticed there that in these cities, efforts are being made to make sure that girls are able to have a safer life in the city, whether it is where they take the public transport, whether it is where the girls and the young people play. There is an effort to protect the girls. We therefore call for a caring society that looks after the interest of girls everywhere they are. I would like to invite you to join us in Generation Equality. In fact, I should say you are already part of Generation Equality, and we appreciate that, because Generation Equality is a compilation of stakeholders who are responding to many of these areas where women's issues need attention. Generation Equality will meet in France in June, and through Generation Equality, we will accelerate the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action. Generation Equality will focus on gender-based violence, which needs us to care, on women's economic empowerment, on women and bodily autonomy and reproductive rights, on access to technology, as well as women and leadership. I invite you to be a critical part of that, because all of these issues can only make sense if they have a place at a local government level. I wish you a beautiful and a constructive conference. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup pour ces paroles qui nous réchauffent le cœur et que nous animent à travailler avec plus d'ambition avec ONU Femmes. J'ai le plaisir de donner la parole à notre coprésidente Thembisile Nkadiming. À vous la parole, chère Thembi. Thembi, est-ce que vous êtes là?
She's here, President, but having some problems with the connection.
Thembi? Peut-être, Emilia, on peut donner la parole à quelqu'un d'autre. Est-ce que vous avez des demandes de prise de parole?
Yes, thank you, President. What I propose is that we go to a video on care that really summarizes what the work that we are trying to do within UCLG and our strategy. And following that, we will start with the lineup of speakers that we have. Thank you very much. So let us go to our
Emilia, nous avons Dr. Tedros.
Comment?
Le Dr. Tedros, est-ce qu'il va intervenir
Dr. Tedros is going to be intervening later, President, later during the Executive Bureau. Indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let us go to the video on caring that frames this discussion, and hopefully we will have Co-President Thembisile joining after this, and otherwise we have the rest of the speakers. I hear from Co-President that she is ready. Co-President Thembisile, please do take the floor. We still cannot hear you. Let us give you a couple of minutes. It's only a 2-minute video. Please, colleagues, let's play that. And let us sort out what is happening with the connection.
We have come to understand that public service delivery is critical for societies to protect themselves. Local and regional governments put care at the center of their efforts. They care for their communities and they care for those who are caring for us. This shift towards a brighter future needs to be a collective effort. Transformation is in our hands. Municipalism around the world is leading transformation. We are moving from inclusion to caring. We are moving from equality to a new feminist way of going about politics. We are going beyond the ecological transition and towards ecological transformation. Being in service of our communities is at the heart of everything we do. We need local democracy. We need dialogue. We need to keep listening, advocating, and learning. Everyone needs to contribute to shape the future, a shared horizon that leaves no one behind. Let us lead the way towards our common agenda. It is in our hands to unveil the new essential common goods. Culture is essential. Making technology at the service of communities is essential. Universal healthcare and access to vaccines is essential. Feminism is essential. Those that care for us are essential. Intergenerational dialogues are essential. Time is an essential good. As such, the way we spend it is unequal, and this affects our ability to enjoy our lives with dignity. We need to redesign our cities, territories, and work patterns to transform this. United Cities and Local Governments is here to facilitate this journey that has started in our screens. Until we shake hands again.
Indeed, until we shake hands again, we are going to be trying to put the basis for the transformation that we need. And until we are able to get our co-president back, what I propose, President, is to go to the mayor of Banjul, Rune Malik. She's here with us, and I'm really pleased to give her the floor. Mayor, okay. Are you with us?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, my Honorable Emilia Sachs, dear sister. Dear President, first and foremost, good afternoon from Banjul. Dear President, dear co-presidents and mayors. As you are aware, the pandemic has brought to the forefront some of the issues that local and regional governments were already addressing, that were not at the forefront of all people or domains of government. During this time, local and regional governments have worked to ensure that our communities are still working, providing vital services to communities during the hardest of times. You will agree with me that the close link between health and our territories is more visible than ever. We have understood that in the recovery, the way forward is to deliver local public services, framing our territories as caring environments and as the cornerstone for the lives of our communities. It is time to ensure equal access to healthy cities and territories, to provide vaccinations and healthcare for all, and to plan our territories in a way that includes all people. His Excellencies, colleague mayors, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen this pandemic affect especially those that are more vulnerable. To be precise, women and children. Those that our societies were already being left behind are now calling on us to ride the course and to think and plan our cities with everyone in mind. One of the new essentials that cannot be ignored is a new feminist way of going around politics. Gender equality is not an idea, but a necessity. Women have been and still are at the forefront of caring for our elders. for people with disabilities are still underpaid and overworked. Women need to be considered at all steps of recovery process. Our cities and our territories cannot go back to the old normal way. And women and girls need to be at the forefront of decision-making for a new, better normal way of life. Planning our cities need to be done by all. Older persons and persons with disability are 25% of the global population, and they have many barriers in their bid to participate in the city's life. As the president said, and as we are raising awareness for equal access, we need to underscore that accessibility is an essential pillar for delivering societies that care. It is time to remove the barriers that affect our more vulnerable communities and understand that planning for disability is planning for everyone. I want to put emphasis on that. Planning for disability is planning for ourselves. As we enter the recovery, we need to understand that despite the fact that technology is essential, but healthcare and culture are also important. But above all, is the need to cater to the needs of all people. The poor, the disabled, and women who form integral elements in our community, who are often forgotten when it comes to planning. Public space is an integral part of this. We need cities and territories that are people-centered, and we need to understand that planning with everyone in mind means not leaving anyone behind. This planning needs to have in mind how we work, the time we spend, and equal enjoyment of it. Caring for our citizens means ensuring they can live and enjoy their lives with dignity. His Excellencies, Mayors, ladies,
conferència aquestes online, però mentre anant vaig fent coses.
We need to foster a new use of technology that helps us enhance democracy, improve quality of life for everyone, decrease the use of natural resources, and foster the development of individual potentials for our citizens everywhere, young and old. Dear friends, dear colleagues, His Excellencies, I am proud of what we have begun to address today. I look forward to hearing more from you about how we can care for our communities and to share your knowledge in Banjul. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, dear Mayor, for these very wise words and for highlighting this issue on accessibility that the President was also introducing and that also came up this morning. Since our Congress in Durban in 2019, we have been paying a special attention to this issue. We have a community of practice around this, and we also hope that it needs to be a very important component of our care agenda. Thank you very much. I'm going, President, with your permission, to take the risk again and try to invite to take the floor our co-president, Mayor Kadime, but I hear you laughing, so we are fine. Welcome, co-president.
I suppose so, Emilia. It has been a struggle. I don't know why today, but thank you very much, Your Excellency, Under Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Director of United Nations for Women, Mepumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, our President of UCLG, and our colleagues from the Presidency and members of the Executive Bureau, our mayors and our partners. Thank you very much for being here today in our Executive Bureau. in which we are addressing the importance of the new common goods, re-evaluating what is essential to be a movement that responds to the needs of all and the steps to develop societies that care. Our equality-driven movement has always unequivocally championed gender equality as essential. These past years, we have already set in motion concrete actions to make the voice of women and girls to be heard in the localization of our global agenda. In the face of COVID-19 pandemic, UCLG has always stressed the disproportionate impact of the crisis on women and girls. As women, we have been at the front line, as Mem Lambo said, of the battle against the virus. We have exposed ourselves to taking care and to protecting our people, our nations, in our homes, in our schools, hospitals, in our cities, and in our territories. Whoever thought that waste collection done in municipalities could also be a spread of COVID-19? There already have been precarious livelihoods of women around the world and have worsened with this crisis. Gender violence is increasing, often exacerbated by the precarious housing conditions. The crisis will severely impact gender equality beyond this pandemic. It is critical we face backlashes to democracy and safeguard and also accelerate the progress gender equality, including hard-won sexual and reproductive health and rights, and a new generation of rights, including digital rights. In a moment in which we are talking about caring for our communities, we need to consider that women are already carers. They are the frontliners themselves, the bulk of health, care, basic store workers, and represent almost 60% of the workforce on a part-time basis, while being under 40% of the total employment. So delivering care and protecting those who are most vulnerable needs to be acknowledged as essential for the future, not just in words, but also in action. Nevertheless, our representation is still limited in leadership roles and for decision-making. So towards the recovery and in the pandemic aftermath, women must occupy their rightful place. For that reason, we have launched a call to action, which we have titled Women's Leadership for the Post-COVID-19 Era. Our leading role in this instance is crucial to drive us to an inclusive and reliant cities, to cities that care about its people without leaving anyone behind. The status of women, the specific needs, and the unique contributions they make to shape the future of humanity cannot remain invisible and unheard in the formulation and monitoring of public policies, particularly when they are also belonging to populations that have been historically discriminated against. Equality, and more specifically gender equality, needs to be put at the heart of our communities to ensure that their needs and rights are addressed through the social policies of reorganization of time and the redistribution of wealth, of transformation of public spaces, of interaction of our youth and neighbors. We need a new feminist way of thinking and exercising politics. So for us, this is a purpose of the global feminist municipal movement. Local leaders are committed, as I equally am, to equality as the only possible pathway to development, a pathway that places at the top of the political and of all agendas women, an agenda that includes equality framework in urban planning, in legislation, and in development. Women in politics face several barriers, impediments, and attacks in their journey to access and perform in public positions. Social norms and discrimination pervade all stages of our public life. In the house, when engaging in our communities, in elections, and even inside governments and parliaments. So we need to ensure that we put measures that are in place to protect women from gender violence, discrimination, and disinformation worldwide, including this virtual world. Dear friends and colleagues, our calls to member states and international communities are clear, and we need to build gender sensitive and gender responsive institutions by ensuring intersectional gender audits of women representation and leadership at all spheres of government. We understand that business as usual is not an option in the coming years. We need to correct the course. We need women at all stages of decision making. This is why we call on local and regional, national and international institutions to improve the working conditions in the care, jobs, and to acknowledge the unique transformation power of local feminist leadership. Local and regional governments will stay in the first line to advocate for women and girls' rights in decision making. My friends and colleagues, I am happy to see this executive bureau incorporating caring in its core, in its thinking about the world that reshapes our essentials and can deliver a pathway towards a generation equality where women leadership is no longer an exception, but is a new normal. My sisters and the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations, you can count with the global municipal movement as an ally and a friend. We will be there during this 5-year process of generation of equality, leading the action coalition of the feminist movement and leadership with explicit blueprints and actionable commitments. I'm proud to inform you that we will be presenting the voices of the global feminist municipal movement during the forum in Paris. And there we will be happy to host together with you a dedicated event of local and regional leadership. See you in Paris. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Co-President. We will be there indeed, Madam Executive Director. We will be fighting the good fight and we will try to continue opening the doors that you are opening for women around the world. We're going to put care at the center so that also violence is fought away from our day-to-day life. But also we would like to give a new significance to municipal leadership. And I think Co-President Kadimen has put it in the most pertinent way to you. So we'll really look forward, Executive Director, to continue our work together. And I am very pleased now to bring another voice from a different part of the world that is also making very important progress in putting care of service provision at the center of the work. The mayor of Samara, Ms. Lapuskina, the floor is yours, Elena. We cannot hear you yet, Elena Lapuskina. I can see you.
Добрый день, уважаемый президент. Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги. Рада вас всех приветствовать на сегодняшнем заседании исполнительного комитета. Добрый день. Меня слышно?
I cannot hear interpretation. I can hear Russian now, but not interpretation.
Слышно меня? Добрый день.
It should be working now. Please go ahead.
Добрый день. Слышно меня?
Please go ahead. We can hear interpretation now.
Коллеги, слышно меня?
Yes, we can hear you.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги. Сегодня уже было сказано о пандемии, и, конечно, сегодня все мы находимся в крайне непростой ситуации, когда
we can hear you.
Продолжает бороться с коронавирусной инфекцией.
No interpretation.
Этот новый вызов нашего времени показал, как многое зависит не только от оперативной работы органов власти, но и от сплоченности, от взаимовыручки и сердечности людей, которые находятся рядом. Вы знаете, что сегодня Российская Федерация ведет активную деятельность по борьбе с коронавирусной инфекцией и ее социально-экономическими последствиями. И сегодня все жители нашей страны имеют возможность бесплатно получать вакцину, реализуется целый комплекс мер по поддержке бизнеса и социально незащищенных категорий граждан. Поддержка и развитие системы здравоохранения, оснащение современным оборудованием медицинских учреждений и системы скорой помощи является приоритетом в работе правительства Самарской области. На муниципальном уровне мы непосредственно реализуем разработанные меры и видим их эффективность, получая обратную связь от населения. Одним из важнейших направлений деятельности по оказанию помощи различным категориям граждан в период пандемии стало и волонтерское движение. Администрация города в данном случае выступила координирующим центром в этой работе и объединила всех, кто помогал людям. Это и социальная служба города, представители бизнеса, общественные организации и просто неравнодушные люди. А в апреле 2020 года в администрации был создан волонтерский штаб, организован колл-центр с горячей линией, и за весь период работы штаба было отработано 22 тысячи обращений. Крупнейшие предприятия города оказывали благотворительную помощь по приобретению продуктовых наборов, предметов первой необходимости для граждан, находящихся на самоизоляции. Кроме того, были перечислены и финансовые средства. Индивидуальными предпринимателями, депутатами была оказана помощь 28 тысячам граждан пожилого возраста. Был реализован проект в рамках всероссийской акции «Мы вместе», направленный на оказание адресной помощи населению людям в возрасте старше 65 лет в виде безвозмездного предоставления продуктовых наборов. Совместно с транспортным предприятием были организованы бесплатные поездки для инвалидов и пожилых граждан. Кроме того, была проведена акция для многодетных семей, когда сформировались наборы с предметами первой необходимости, книжками, игрушками для детей. Также были сформированы наборы для пенсионеров, куда вошли необходимые хозяйственные товары на каждый день. За период пандемии мы убедились, насколько много неравнодушных, отзывчивых людей окружает нас. Заботиться о близких, о своих знакомых и порой совершенно незнакомых людях, нуждающихся в помощи. В условиях пандемии малый бизнес также оказался в очень сложных условиях. Зачастую предпринимателям необходимо было сделать выбор между двумя крайне нежелательными сценариями. Это либо закрыть бизнес, либо сократить штатную численность сотрудников. И в связи с этим были приняты ряд решений, оказана и финансовая помощь, и такая финансовая помощь достаточно серьезная была оказана и в Самаре. Кроме того, был утвержден план мероприятий по стабилизации бизнеса, были сохранены рабочие места. Уважаемые коллеги, сегодня, когда ученым удалось создать вакцину от новой коронавирусной инфекции, полагаю, очень важным для всех нас максимально воспользоваться возможностью защитить себя, своих близких. И в России возможность быстро и совершенно бесплатно получить прививку появилась одной из первых. И перед органами власти сейчас, передо мной лично стоит задача обеспечить максимальную доступность и удобство для граждан получить услугу по вакцинации. В Самаре уже несколько месяцев работают прививочные пункты не только в поликлиниках. Идет прививочная кампания на рабочих местах, функционируют мобильные, выездные и круглосуточные прививочные пункты. Уважаемые коллеги, в завершении своего доклада хочу пожелать всем нам здоровья, скорейшей нормализации обстановки и новых профессиональных успехов. Благодарю за внимание.
Thank you, Mayor. We lost interpretation for a little while, but we should be okay now.
we're having some problems with the connection, but I think it is solved now. In any case, thank you. It might have been only me that was not able to get your end. Thank you very much for your inputs and for sharing your experiences, very impressive experiences of service delivery in the pandemic with the focus on vulnerable populations. I am very pleased now to give the floor to Lamia Kamal, the director of the OECD Center for Entrepreneurship and SMEs. We work with the OECD at many fronts. In fact, we have a particular interest in the agenda on intermediary cities, but also around champion cities for sustainability. The topics are too many to be mentioned, also around localization of the SDGs. We are very pleased that Lamia is here with us today. Please, Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Dear mayors, dear Emilia, dear UCLG delegates, thanks a lot for the opportunity to address the UCLG Executive Bureau. We know that the pandemic has again exposed the many inequalities in our society, including in access to critical services like health, education, and housing. And now we have the opportunity to reboot and to put people at the center of our recovery strategy. So on behalf of the OECD, I would like to congratulate the governing bodies of UCLG for calling for a new social contract where caring, empathy, and sustainability can be the drivers of change. We are already seeing signs that this new contract is shaping the actions taken by local governments. The OECD Center for Entrepreneurship, SMEs, Regions, and Cities that I lead has been tracking the responses to the crisis of more than 100 cities from around the world. And our work has shown how many are reinventing themselves, putting people at the center of their urban transformation. Next week, we are going to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the OECD Champion Mayors for Inclusive Growth initiative, and UCLG has been a partner institution in that initiative from the start. On the 28th of May, the 60 mayors that form this global coalition will endorse a pledge for an inclusive post-COVID recovery. And in that pledge, they will commit to very concrete actions to support the young who have been hit particularly hard by the pandemic. And by doing so, they will send a powerful message to national governments right before the OECD Ministerial Council meeting about the important leadership role that cities can play in supporting a more inclusive recovery. Now we need countries to provide the right fiscal support. Regions and cities need to recover from the crisis, and it will be really essential not to replicate the mistakes made after the 2008 crisis, where critical subnational public investment was cut. The OECD UCLG World Observatory on Subnational Government Finance and Investment will continue to track the impact of the crisis on regional and local governments across the world, and we will provide policy guidance for regions and cities to shape a more caring society. More than ever, we at the OECD stand ready to continue working with you, mayors, and with UCLG on this very important endeavor. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Lamia, for your commitment, for your kind words, and also for acknowledging the efforts that this Executive Bureau and the UCLG leadership are doing around the renewal of the social contract articulated through the Sustainable Development Goals. I am certain that our work together can really enhance the power of both the work at OECD level and at territorial level, of course. And thank you for reminding us of the work that we do together around local finance. I am going back now to the membership, to a representative of local government, the mayor of Fano, Massimo Seri. I would like to give you the floor after these interventions from female leaders, to have your vision as well about what the new care concept should entail, how the new essentials should be defined. What are we looking at, Mayor, after this pandemic? How is the new normal going to look like? And we will wrap up this debate with the participation of the new Executive Director of Cities Alliance, Greg Muro, who has also joined us today. If we have time, we will open the floor for members, and if not, we will go to the Executive Bureau. So, Sindaco Seri, you have the floor.
Grazie, buon pomeriggio a tutti gli intervenuti per questa occasione di confronto utile per guardare alle sfide che ci attendono. Voglio partire da un'affermazione del politologo Fukuyama, che è un quotidiano importante del nostro paese, ha ripreso proprio questa mattina, quando sostiene: la democrazia liberale è sotto grave stress da un decennio e la pandemia, che come tutte le crisi ha conseguenze impreviste, riduce ulteriormente gli spazi di libertà. Perché dico questo? L'emergenza pandemica ha sicuramente limitato temporaneamente le libertà individuali delle persone. Infatti abbiamo rinunciato ad uscire di casa, a spostarci liberamente, abbiamo rinunciato alla socialità e alle tante abitudini consolidate. Abbiamo rinunciato a queste libertà perché eravamo consapevoli che il sacrificio sarebbe stato temporaneo. Quando si è capito che le limitazioni avrebbero potuto protrarsi per un periodo lungo, sono cresciute le tensioni sociali e con i relativi disagi legati ad essi, e hanno iniziato a manifestarsi un po' in tutti i paesi. Ora che vediamo la luce del tunnel, dobbiamo usare questa esperienza per tarare meglio i nostri strumenti di intervento e mettere in campo regole di convivenza che possono garantire da una parte la tenuta sociale, anche in quei casi di crisi impreviste come quella che abbiamo vissuto e stiamo vivendo. Questo significa pensare, progettare, pianificare, come se la possibilità che in futuro si possano riverificare situazioni del genere, che sia utile da usare anche in tempi di normalità. L'elemento che ha caratterizzato più di ogni altro in questi mesi di pandemia è l'isolamento, la distanza sociale. Nell'epoca dell'iperconnessione tecnologica ci siamo trovati tutti più distanti, separati. Distanza e separazione che per le fasce di individui più deboli significa isolamento, solitudine, abbandono. E per i fragili questo avviene in ambito affettivo, educativo, lavorativo ed anche sanitario. Allora è da qui che dobbiamo ripartire da chi abbiamo lasciato indietro. Dobbiamo ripartire da lì, da chi è rimasto solo in queste difficoltà. Dobbiamo fare in modo che questo non accada in tempi ordinari e dobbiamo costruire un sistema che consenta di prenderci cura delle persone, di tutte le persone, in modo particolare nei momenti di difficoltà. È scontato dire che i governi locali sono i primi ad essere chiamati ad affrontare questa sfida, per il livello di prossimità con il cittadino, per la conoscenza diretta del territorio ed anche delle persone che lo popolano. Allora occorre un nuovo patto sociale, una nuova organizzazione. Voglio portare un esempio. In Italia, quando ci furono le prime grandi emergenze catastrofiche, i terremoti, è nata la protezione civile, perché a fronte dell'emergenza l'Italia capì che era impreparata e la risposta fu di creare un'organizzazione di protezione civile capace di intervenire nelle emergenze locali fra l'altro oggi cresciuta molto ed è in grado di intervenire anche nei vari paesi del mondo. La pandemia ha colpito tutti e ci ha trovato tutti impreparati, a prescindere dalle provenienze e dalla localizzazione geografica. Allora la prima cosa che dobbiamo fare è dotarci di un sistema che sia in grado di intervenire in maniera efficace. Come la protezione civile che va a salvare sotto le macerie, qui si deve prendere cura delle fragilità. Un sistema che sia capace di intervenire nelle emergenze, come questa della pandemia, ma anche quando siamo in situazioni di normalità, nei confronti degli anziani soli, dalle difficoltà della quotidianità, dalle problemi di prima necessità che possono avere, dalla penalizzazione di genere, dalle difficoltà delle donne, dalle violenze che subiscono, dall'emarginazione del lavoro. Per quello che riguarda i giovani che si sono isolati, che rischiano di isolarsi sempre più, magari fuori dal percorso formativo o fuori dal percorso lavorativo. Risposte alla salute, alla cura della persona che ha un disagio, che ha la malattia, che ha una povertà educativa. E c'è una necessità che questa pandemia ci ha fatto riscoprire, la necessità di una sanità di prossimità. Sì, è proprio il governo locale che è in grado di dare una risposta di prossimità con le sue attività, essendo il più vicino alla persona. Primo punto di riferimento, e vi posso parlare anche della mia esperienza personale in questo anno, delle situazioni che abbiamo dovuto affrontare anche di tanti casi singoli. Quindi serve un nuovo rapporto, un'organizzazione diversa tra soggetti istituzionali pubblici, istituzioni educative, perché anche la formazione e l'educazione è una base forte come lo è la cultura, e la rete sociale. Per rete sociale quella che noi chiamiamo nel nostro paese il terzo settore, fatto di quell'associazionismo che ha una capacità di azione sussidiaria che viaggia dalle attività solidaristiche a quelle culturali, a quelle ricreative, insomma a quella forma di partecipazione che si trasforma anche in servizi, in vicinanza e attenzione alla cura della persona ed un aiuto sociale, che si fonda quindi in un rapporto vero di sussidiarietà, che sia flessibile e capillare, perché quando parliamo di territorio dobbiamo parlare anche di capillarità. Quindi non è dare una risposta a del pasto, dare un pasto a quella persona che non è in grado di averlo, ma che sia capace di far crescere la persona, che un territorio sia inclusivo, che lo accompagni a crescere, a svilupparsi. E quando le persone crescono è una comunità che cresce. E allora significa creare nei singoli territori, perché è da lì che passa, quelle pari opportunità, che sono avere tutti gli stessi strumenti, perché molte volte non garantire gli stessi strumenti si creano e si allargano le disuguaglianze. Significa opportunità di lavoro, di percorso educativo che ti facilita anche il percorso lavorativo. Significa garantire strumenti di digitalizzazione che sono modernizzazione e che fanno la differenza. Significa usare bene gli spazi pubblici, che siano per tutti, che siano inclusivi. Insomma, una città, una comunità che sia a misura di persone più fragili significa che è una città a misura di tutti. Questa è la sfida che noi dobbiamo avere. E un altro elemento fondamentale è anche la cooperazione internazionale, la cooperazione fra i governi locali, fra le esperienze anche delle città e dei territori, che possono essere una leva, un impulso e un aiuto nel crescere insieme, perché le sfide si affrontano insieme. E chiudo proprio partendo da questo concetto che una città a misura delle persone più fragili è una città per tutti. La mia città, Fano, che oggi festeggia quest'anno i 30 anni di attività, ha sperimentato un laboratorio che si chiama Fano Città delle Bambine e dei Bambini, dove ha preso il parametro del bambino per costruire e pianificare nei servizi, nella sua dimensione urbanistica, nella sua dimensione di vivacità, il bambino, considerato come elemento più fragile di una società con tutto il valore che ha.
Grazie,
e se si è
Sindaco.
organizzato in questo senso significa che è una città per tutti.
Grazie, Sindaco. Thank you very much. We needed to move on, and sorry to interrupt. Thank you very much for these very important inputs where you are linking not only the collective service provision and the common goods that we will need to protect, but also the important role that local governments have in protecting individuals and the citizens and making sure that they grow. I'm sure you are going to be delighted with inputs that we have prepared for later on about the role of culture in this future contract that we are developing, our pact for the future around people, planet, and government. Thank you so much for these interesting inputs. And I'm going to wrap up this initial debate with the permission of the President, welcoming a very dear colleague of all of us, Greg Munro, who was until recently the Secretary General of CLGF, the Commonwealth Local Governments Forum, a sister organization, and is now heading one of our most important partners alliances, Cities Alliance. And with Cities Alliance, we have been working hard on the inclusion of informality in our agenda, addressing informality, also those most vulnerable. So I'm delighted to have you with us, Greg, now with a different hat, but always very close to us and to our work. Welcome.
Thank you, Amelia. So Under-Secretary General, UCLG President, UCLG members, as I think many of you know, Cities Alliance, which is hosted by UNOPS, supports cities for sustainable development, but particularly with urban poverty and informality. We're a partnership of 6 sectors, of which local government is one of the sectors, the others being multilaterals, bilateral governments, academic sector, civil society, and the private sector and foundations. Now, the new leadership of Cities Alliance had to come from one of those sectors. And as Amelia has told you, it's local government, because I have come from local government. You know, with 1 billion people living in slums around the world, with the sharpest impacts of poverty, social exclusion, inadequate public health, food insecurity, and all of these things have been made worse by the COVID pandemic. And these are people living in many, many of your cities. And I am unable to do my job, and we were unable to work for the urban poor unless we work through and with the membership of UCLG. UCLG is a key ally and key partner in the fight against poverty in our local government areas and in our cities. So I was really involved with much of UCLG's work in the Global Task Force in my job in the Commonwealth Local Government Forum. And I am sure that I'll be equally involved with UCLG and supporting your work and working with you in my job as Cities Alliance. So thank you, Amelia. Thank you, all of you. It's going to be a great pleasure to continue working with all of you.
Thank you very much, Greg, for this commitment. I think the membership will be keen to continue our collaboration now with you heading the Cities Alliance indeed. President, yo ya he terminado mi trabajo aquí para facilitar esta parte. No sé si quiere usted compartir algo con nosotros, presidente Budra, antes de darle la palabra al copresidente Lee de Sian.
On continue, Emilia.
Continuamos entonces, presidente. So I would like then to move to the next segment of the Executive Bureau. We would like to get started with the message that we received from the Executive Director of the World Health Organization. Dr. Tedros, as the President was saying, has been with us many times, 3 times in fact already.